Hey everyone, you're here with Christina and
Jackie.
for another episode of She Commerce where power women and real talk collide in the CPG world. What's going on, Jackie?
Well, Christina, today we have a behemoth of the industry joining us. She is a founder, the president of the organization, a phenomenal woman. Not gonna lie, have a
Hmm.
little bit of a girl crush on her.
You
She's
do, you
just
do.
such a
I'll
girl.
allow it.
She's total girl boss. And you're gonna find out when we introduce her in a little minute.
Shortly, yes. All right. Well, before we get to that, how has the start of your year been?
My gosh. I mean, okay, I gave up on New Year's resolution as one of my New Year's resolutions a couple of New Years ago because I mean, if I'm not gonna do it the rest of the year, what's the point of using the new year as my thing? So now I'm just gonna stay stressed the whole year. I'm not gonna make plans to, you know,
Level state.
completely, right? I'm just being realistic. I'm not going to sit there and go, okay, I'm going to focus on my well-being and I'm going to have boundaries because 5 minutes later, I'm
It
like,
doesn't,
oh my God, I
right.
have to finish this. And I don't have time for well-being. The well-being part stresses me out.
Yeah.
I don't have time for well-being.
You need to make time. I think that's why we need to maybe do a little reframe on resolutions because, yeah, that old model of going harder, doing more all the time, being more all the time is quite honestly not working. And I think, not having time for health can't be a nice to have. We can't tell our viewers that, you know, y-
No, it's
it's not something you earn after you hit your number, right?
absolutely not. No. And I'm not saying it's healthy. I'm just being really real at the moment in terms of where my
Real.
life is right now. And
Yeah.
the twins, they're always talking. Always talking. I
I
love
know.
them.
Well, I mean, I get it. That my girls, their mouths don't stop either. But I think you and me need to make a resolution maybe for little things like more sleep, more water, more walks, more talks, more therapy, more saying no, holding without all the explanation, but just because it's all about balance. And I think we need to build that in.
Definitely less coffee, Christina. She says coffee now.
As I sip my coffee as well I do have water next to me, so
Same,
points,
same.
points for hydrating. Okay.
So
Well, let's spill the tea.
completely.
Shall we?
Go for it.
Okay. All right. Well, starting with some very exciting people news. I am super excited to say that my very own husband, Andrew, has just stepped into a new role. He is head of content at Diageo, and this is a huge move. He's going to be leading and growing their in house agency into a real center of creative excellence, not just about making creative assets, but really working on raising the bar for the category.
That is
So, congratulations, Andrew.
phenomenal. So many congratulations, Andrew. You'll be amazing at it. I've seen some of the
Yes,
stuff you're doing for us.
you will. And it was over a year in the making. So, I think it's just a good reminder that sometimes the best career moves or the best, pivots in life happen after, this waiting period, right? Or maybe sometimes quietly behind the scenes before they happen publicly in front of the scenes. So, patience, persistence, being ready, and really capitalizing on those opportunities when the door finally opens is the takeaway here.
Christina, did you ever
All right.
did you ever watch the ad, the Guinness ad? Good things come to those who wait.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
the motto here, right?
Lots of mile here, agree. And speaking of some good things that have come at the beginning of the year with NRF, I know right from CES, we went straight into NRF, and there was definitely some tea from there a couple weeks ago. Google basically said, "Hey, agentic commerce. I know we've been talking about that it's coming, but we're here." And they launched the Universal Commerce Protocol (UCP), not to be confused with UPC, if you read that quickly. But I think the headline there is this open kind of AI or open standard of AI to be designed for AI agents to interact with broader set of retail systems more smoothly across platforms and really enable agentic commerce is this year.
Wow. That's new, that's different, that's leading neatly into our next interesting point, and that is ChatGPT. Not that we're obsessed with AI, but also slightly hashtag obsessed. ChatGPT has
At
the
least.
users, Microsoft has the retailers. Who wins? There was an
Mm,
excellent article, or there's an excellent thought piece on LinkedIn written by the ever fabulous Roger Dunn from Diageo, actually, um, in terms of, well, basically in terms of commerce war. What's
mm,
going on? We know what's happening with the checkouts. What's turning your AI platforms and AI assistants into full-blown shopping platforms. I'm not gonna lie,
yeah,
I kind of like the idea that I don't have to go into a store, find a shopper, and ask them to come up with ideas for me. I can ask ChatGPT. I've been having this renovation project for about 100 years, right? We're
yes,
we're
yes.
we're now at the almost decoration stage. ChatGPT
Uh-huh.
being my interior designer. I kid you not. Amazing.
I love that.
I love that this is happening with, Copilot checkout with PayPal was launched at NRF. You
Mm,
would have seen. Kind of think it's about who wins the consumer's trust to click buy.
that's true. That's true. And I also think for brands, it's around if you're not thinking about your content and your product data and how you can get that to a clean, structured input and also think through the availability, the offers and those attributes,
Mhm.
then you're going to be losing real quick. So if you're still treating commerce like it's a separate channel, you're definitely going to get outpaced by those companies and people that understand this is a new infrastructure to operate in.
Things are
All
moving so
right.
fast.
Well, how about some company news?
Oh, hit us.
Company news?
What's going on?
Yeah. Okay. Well, P&G has bought Wonder Belly. And if you're not familiar with Wonder Belly, it's a digestive health brand. And this is, they're very focused on kind of the holistic, the free from part of digestive health. I mean, unless you've been living in a cave, you know that health and wellness is definitely a hot topic right now and has become, it's not niche anymore or one aisle in the store. It's certainly more mainstream, a big purchase driver, and a lot of big CPGs are clearly doubling down here.
I'm not gonna lie, and it's not a trend, but the more
Yeah.
information that's come out, Christina, about well-being and supplements, I'm taking supplements now that I would not have considered 10 years ago. By supplements, it's
Hmm.
vitamins and it's zinc and it's
Right.
to boost my my gut health, my inside health. And it's because there's so much more information and it's aimed at your average Joe or Jane as opposed to,
Yeah.
deep diving into the science of it all. I love it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I just think people are more in tune to that, right? And they have stepped up in terms of their wants and needs, right? Whether that's more functional ingredients, more efficacy, cleaner ingredients, transparency, et cetera. So it's really up to us, CPG organizations, to deliver on that
Yeah, completely.
or miss out.
And speaking of
Cool.
more gut stuff, let's just go gut today.
Oh
Just
gosh.
let's just rely on our gut. A few years ago, I developed a gluten intolerance. Intolerance, not full blown,
Mhm.
can't eat any of the gluten. And
Yeah.
from that time, because we're talking 2022 to now, the glut of products out in the market that are gluten free.
Serve your needs.
Oh my gosh. Yes. It's amazing. From almost, oh my God, this is cardboard to, oh wow, my kids are now stealing my food. It's like, no. but because actually
Mhm.
it's tasty and there's so much more variety, there's so much more competition. That is the name of the game.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's cultural shifts, demand, new demand creation, and then, those companies that are capitalizing on that or going out and doing M&A to really make that part of their growth strategies. Great example there.
Completely.
We've seen that in real time. All right. Well, should we welcome our guest?
My gosh, of course. Everyone, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to the co-founder and president of PacVue and the very recently appointed, and by recent I mean literally today, uh, Commerce Media Power 100 by the drum, Melissa Burdick. Melissa, it is such a joy to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Yes, we're so excited to have you and coordinate this, and congratulations on being honored there. Before we jump into learning all about you and what's going on at PacVue, we want to start with maybe a little more of a softball question and ask you, what's your favorite drink right now? And, that
Ooh.
could be figuratively or actually in your cup.
Hmm. What's my favorite drink right now? I'm a big Pinot Noir fan. So a very good Pinot Noir would be in my cup. And I tried non-alcoholic Pinot Noir and I highly recommend not to do that. That was very
Don't
bad.
worry, no issue here.
Yeah. That doesn't work. Non-alcoholic beer. I'm not a beer drinker. People like non-alcoholic beer. I haven't, if anyone knows of a wine that's non-alcoholic that tastes good, let me know.
My husband just started at Diageo as our people news, so I will ask him because I know he has tried some things that he tells me are fantastic. So maybe we'll have to get you some samples.
Awesome.
I'm on that with the whole decaf coffee. I mean, why?
What's the
That's
point?
my just why?
Well, I don't drink any caffeine till, like 3, so maybe after 3, decaf is good.
It's a
Does it taste
choice.
the same? Does it taste the same? I don't know. I've never tried it. It just goes against my principles so much. I've never actually tried it.
Mine too.
All right. Well, let's get into our questions for you, Melissa. So, you've been called a trailblazer in media, building PacVue from the ground and shaping how brands show up on Amazon and beyond. And we read in the business journals, in her own words, that your pivot moment was after a particularly difficult time for you. What made you jump from the frying pan into the fire?
Yeah.
Fire of org.
Well, when I worked at Amazon 10 years, and one of the things I loved about Amazon was it's very entrepreneurial. Like I would had a lot, at least then, back then. I think that maybe now it's a little bit different, but I always thought to myself, I really want to create my own company. I really loved having this, I own P&L. It was really great to do. And I had this kind of itch. And then, like you said, I had a really bad health scare when I was 37. I was diagnosed with this really nasty breast cancer. And during that treatment time and like pity parties for myself, I said, if I get through this and I turn out on the other side of it, I'm going to go do that thing. And so that's what I did.
Well, that's amazing. Just, I mean, your strength through that, and to think with that in mind, it's really inspiring. So thank you for sharing that piece with us as well. As you think about that, and you made it through, now you're investing. Now you're keeping to your promises to yourself, and you're investing in those early days of PacVue. If you were to describe that in a few words, how would you describe it?
I would describe it as extremely hard. I would say starting a business from scratch, from white paper,
Yeah.
especially never having been a founder before, coming from, cushiony corporate job. It's hard to say Amazon's a cushiony corporate job, but, I mean, you work hard, but
Security.
secure job. Hardest things were things I'd never done before, like create and manage a sales team, create a marketing function from scratch, create sales commissions when you have no sales, like just every single thing. Get an accountant, hire an accountant. I mean, like everything. was
Yeah.
from scratch, was new. Because we were bootstrapped, we were doing it. I mean, that was it. Like, we didn't have VCs or private equities that were like, oh, here's an accountant that you can use. It was
Right.
literally like, go find an accountant that knows how to do these things. It was very, very, very hard because everything it was felt kind of like walking through that mud, but it also maybe that also made it that much sweeter was being able to have the success early on that we were able to have. So extremely hard.
Which brings me to my question here. You went from extremely hard and going through this entire process of doing all the things you've never done before. When was your first serious hell yeah moment when you felt that you had gone over the hump, if you will, that this was a game changer?
We so one of the great things about this company was that one, I had an amazing partner that had we had a very complementary and different skill set. I like to say I was front of the house, business partnerships, marketing, sales. He was back of the house, all the product dev and tech. Admittedly, probably the much harder job is what he did. But because my partner was so amazing, we had very clear swim lanes. We had our product built and in market within 6 months
Wow.
because the vision was there. We knew exactly what to build, we knew what was needed. And so the moment that you're talking about was when we got our first customer, which was Durrell Juvenile, and they paid. So we had product market fit. We knew we built this thing that we knew customers wanted, and it was validated by the fact that we had customers coming to us wanting to pay us. So the
Yeah.
first client fell in six months in market, I think is like, I mean, building and then launching and like launching this
That's
bootstrap
crazy.
was like totally because we I got the API at the end of 2017, inked PacVue January 1st, 2018. We got our first paying customer of building a platform from scratch on June 2018. So it's in 6 months. And then just clients kept coming because the industry was so manual and we built this more helpful tool platform for them. And so that moment was really when those customers were coming to us and signing contracts.
And hopefully you celebrated with some good red wine in that moment. But no, that's crazy. If you build it, they came, they will come, and they did. So 6 months. I can't believe it. That's probably
Wow.
a record.
Yeah. Yeah, it was I think that when I look back on it, it was really like the stars all aligned. It was like product market fit, best, perfect partner, timing of the industry. No
Right.
other there really weren't many other entrants in the space. It wasn't very crowded. It became crowded, but there weren't many people doing it. So there's just like
Good
everything.
start.
Yeah, and like unlike I mean, I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, I wanna be an entrepreneur, I'm gonna go create something," and it takes them years. Like, they pivot, they change. No,
Right.
knew exactly what to build. It was, like, done in 6 months. It was, like, exactly what the market needed, and that was the cool part of it.
You basically
Amazing.
captured the zeitgeist of the moment. Thank you for that, Melissa. We want to pivot now to understanding what she in your story looks like. Who was the woman or women who perhaps shaped your path? And how do you look at paying that forward today? Because we know you do.
I mean, there's so many women that, I think about in that respect. I mean, if I look at Amazon, there were some female leaders like Colleen Aubrey was a pretty big leader in the Amazon ads organization when I was there. And it was kind of people who were in executive positions that were doing well that she was kind of like a somewhat of a mentor that I met with occasionally. So learning from her was great. Then when we look at our industry, there's so many women. I mean, how many there that are doing awesome things, but just a few that come to mind. Amy Lanzi, like, has always been someone that I think is incredible, always judging things, always having a lot of thought leadership out there. And I follow her. Diana Hausling, I think, is also amazing. I had spoken with her on stage, and I remember specifically is we were doing a keynote for Amazon in front of like thousands of people. Like the big stage where you have like your face is like 20x and every line is looked at. She had just cut. We were on a meeting together talking about the keynote, and then she had just seen a picture of her at like Netflix where she was at the Netflix keynote, which is like way, I mean, like I don't know how many people are looking at that. And I was like, Diana, do you ever get like nervous? You're sitting on stage and like just talking about all these things. And she was like, I raise my hand and I say yes to things, and that pushes me to get myself out there. And so I just have always thought about that from her. And then recently also I love what Ekta Chopra is doing, CDO at Elf, because she's so forward thinking in all the things she's doing with AI. Create her own Substack that I also watch and read.
Well, we thank you for saying yes to us, first of all. We appreciate that. But, there's still, while there's a lot of women trailblazers and they're doing great things, I would say these women founders, though, are still very much in the minority.
Mhm.
So, you are a standout in that space for sure. But what would you say the boldest move is that you've made to really claim that space, right? And amplify your voice, both within your company, but also just broadly in the industry?
I think speaking, going on stage and speaking in front of audiences has been the boldest move. One, when I was at Amazon, I mean, there weren't many people that are able to do things like that. You have to be a certain, chosen, selected few, media trained and all that kind of stuff to be on stage in front of thousands of people. And so when I left Amazon and I started kind of doing this and I started doing a lot of speaking engagements, initially that's a muscle that you have to kind of build. And then I started going on Bloomberg TV, and that's even more crazy because they ask you all kinds of questions that you're just not prepared to answer, and you have to think so fast on your feet. And so that I think that, like the speaking in front of people, and I think that's a great muscle. And so if anyone has an opportunity to say yes to something, raise your hand and go speak to in front of an audience. It forces you to create a presentation and also really understand it. I think the other
Mhm.
one that was like also a crazy one I said yes to, I went to the $1 billion summit in front of like the all the sellers that are like the best in the business. And so like they asked me to speak to sellers and talk about seller hacks. And I'm like, whoa, what did I just say yes to? And so then I had to go and like really research and work with my team on like what are the coolest seller hacks that are the latest things to go talk to these people about. Like doing these things where you're saying yes to, and then realizing like, wait, am I an expert in that? I better go, get myself uh, to be an expert in that. So
Curveball, now that you said that. Follow-up question. As you prepared for that, like, is that something that came naturally to you, that you're comfortable, or do you have any tips? I know, like, taking advantage of the opportunity, some people talk about, like, taking an improv class or doing Toastmasters or, different things like that. Anything you would recommend?
I think what I wind up doing is I wind up practicing that presentation like when I'm driving in the car by myself. Like I'm one of those people where I have to know the material inside and out. Like I can't have someone create a presentation for me and then I go present it. Like that doesn't work very
Right.
well for me. I have to kind of create it myself and really understand the content material. So that's also another one is that for me personally, this is just my style. I want to truly understand how something, whatever I'm talking about, I really want to understand it. So I will schedule demos with people on my team to like show me, like, how do I do this? So I really have to understand something deeply and then practice it a lot so that it sounds really good. But those are kind of my hacks.
Yeah. No, it's good. You do some deep research. I love that.
I
Yeah,
I agree with
Uh,
that.
alright.
I don't think I could speak without really knowing my subject inside out. Deep
exactly.
research.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
then you want it to be so staged and like reading off a card. I mean, that's what I find sometimes hard about some of the Amazon stuff when you have to be so specific. When I don't know if you've ever been in a one of their presentations and like the monitor is right behind you saying every single word, and you
Yeah.
have to make sure that you're going to the T, what that says. That's you want to have like you want it to feel natural. You want the presentation to feel natural, and so the only way for it to feel natural is to really feel comfortable with the content.
Yeah. That's definitely an art form, so kudos to you for mastering it.
No,
And I know it's something that could continue to practice, right?
yeah, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's jump back into the industry side. I know, obviously, I don't need to tell you, retail media is exploding. Every brand wants in, every platform wants a piece of it. We've seen a lot of developments. We were talking about it in our opening around agentic commerce, et cetera. But you've obviously been in the game for a while here, and before it was even a buzzword. But what's the biggest misconception about retail media right now, in your opinion?
Well, unlike what we talked about when we first started about PacVue, where we built it and they came, I think the biggest misnomer is that if we build it, they will come. I think there's a lot of retailers who are looking for profit and for growth, and they see retail media as like, oh, that's a growth driver for me. And lots of consultants out there saying, oh, you should build a retail media network and you can make $100 million from all this ad dollar spending. But in work, I mean, we work with over 100 retailers that we've launched on our platform at PacVue with retail media networks. I think a big misnomer is if we build it day one, hey, retail media platform built, where's my demand? It just doesn't, as you guys know, it doesn't really work that way. And it takes, like you could be in the middle of a budget cycle and nobody has money until next year to allocate to a new retail media network, things like that. So it's just, I think that's one of the bigger challenges in this space is that one, there's a proliferation. There's lots of retail media networks. People are not on 100 of them as much as every retail media network wants to be part of the 100. But those are some of the big ones that I would say.
I like to say not all retail media networks are the same.
Yeah,
So, not all
No,
created
no,
equal.
they're
So
really not.
it's a finite budget. You gotta earn your spot, earn my spend.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's create a really compelling why. Why should they use you instead of another
Yeah, well,
retailer, right?
That's right. Exactly.
So,
that's
Melissa,
key.
tell us if you were going to mentor a young woman entering the space today, what would you tell her about where the real opportunities lie?
Hmm. Like in terms of what area that they should go into or what it just in general.
General.
Yeah, general
I
general over.
I would say, yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys would say, but here's what I would say. I would say there's so many we we've all been in business for a long time and also brands and retailers and platforms like us. I'm not going to call us like we're not old, but now it's like this AI first thinking, right? And so we're all trying to change into AI first thinking. So I guess my recommendation is what is your AI first thinking? How are you bringing this mindset to your employer, to yourself personally, your life hacks. How can you make AI help you be more efficient and effective? I listened to this podcast where this guy had like three different agents listening to him throughout the day, and it would like create his to do list and like all the things that I mean, like he's like hacking his life using all these AI tools. And so if you're in design, like creative design, how are you using AI to like make that cool design better? So I think it's having an AI first mentality. What are the tools that you need to be using? That skill set. I would like if I would love to hire an intern this summer. And I actually talked to my marketing team. I was like, let's hire an intern that has an AI first mindset that can look at everything that we're doing. What different tools should we be using? Like what's our modern technology stack that we can be improving ourselves with? What would you guys say?
We were actually talking about this at CES, Melissa, and I would probably say that if I was going to talk to somebody who was at university right now, first of all, we'd be talking to someone who hasn't finished their degree, who is prepping potentially for jobs that don't actually exist right now and for jobs that will not exist when they graduate. And it's very much a case of AI is here to stay. How are you using it in your life? How are you using it to cut out the banalities of your life and to supercharge the creativity? This
Hmm.
is Christina is sick and tired of hearing me say this because I just love this quote that AI is the search engine for your imagination. How are you using it within the areas of or the careers that you are interested in? how would you use AI so that it makes you more efficient as this new graduate on the graduate scheme so that you're not doing exactly what hundreds and thousands of people before you and generations before you did, which is, cross-reference multiple cases, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How are you using AI to do that work for you so you're coming up with deeper, more meaningful insights quicker? And
I
I
think
think it's
that's all right. That's the new interview question that everyone should be asking.
For your interns, that you'll get an influx of
Yeah.
interest now. But yeah, I think this is the first time we've seen tech that is coming directly at, more of those white collar types of positions. So if that person was, very focused on going into business, I'd say definitely getting comfortable with the data and the tech to have that foundation and then be able to understand what the value add that you could provide on top of that is. But otherwise, I'd say, look at those industries where AI cannot play a role there or take away a role there. So kind of back to some of those service industries, et cetera, where there are gaps, right? And in our supply. So, yeah.
and
All right.
you know
Well, we're going
to
to maybe,
actually just finish that thought though, Melissa, I think it's
yeah.
the one thing that we would say to anybody going into just coming into the workforce is, as per all the generations before you who have had to pivot and learn something new from what they
Hmm.
started off with, keep an open mind and keep learning. You don't stop when you leave school or leave university. Is life is a learning journey. Keep that open mind.
Mm, I love that.
All right. Well, we're jumping back and forth here between industry and personal, but keeping it interesting here. What's the soundtrack to your founder's life? What is that song that gets you hyped maybe before you go out on one of those big stages like we just talked about?
I if I'm gonna hype myself up, maybe it might be like an Eminem song or something like that. Like something like really, it's gonna
Old
it's
old song?
yeah, like something that is gonna pump you up to
Oh,
get you out
I
there.
love that. Well, we have a Spotify soundtrack or song
Oh,
list, so we'll
fun.
be adding that to it.
I'm sorry.
That's
I
awesome.
did not expect you to say Eminem, Melissa.
I know. I was trying to think of something and I was like, I might do some further research, but I was just thinking of
Everything.
that was the first thing that popped into my mind.
Like the "You Better Lose Yourself,"
Yes.
like that? Alright. You only got one shot. I mean, it's good. It should be. It's kinda like the soundtrack to your life. You had the one shot, you took it, you
Yeah.
made it.
See? There
Amazing.
you go.
Christina,
Love
don't
it.
rap. Don't rap, Christina. Don't.
I know.
Don't
I
do
was
it.
gonna say, I always start Jackie's the real singer here, you know, but it's fine.
And I have to ask one question about PacVue here, Melissa, for you. What is the most Melissa thing about PacVue?
That is such a hard question. I so maybe I don't know if this answers it, but we use Slack like too much. I don't know if you guys use Slack, but
Oh,
Slack is the bane of my sometimes. But during COVID, I created something called props channel, a few props. And what it's meant to do is you're supposed to just, if you just had a great meeting, it's calling out your colleague, oh, we had this amazing meeting and so killed it. Like just a way to one, it was a way to bring people together because in COVID, everyone, we use it today. I mean, we've used it, X number of years later. And it's like one of my favorite channels to look at. But it really, one of the things I wanted to do was connect everyone. So like we're all remote. I wanted to like make people feel connected by saying like these little wins that you're doing. It's almost like a window, even if you're not seeing them in an office, you're like seeing what they're doing is a way to recognize people, to make them feel, good about, recognize your colleagues. So I think that speaks a little bit to maybe me as like a connector. Like I would say one of my bigger strengths is my network and like I love connecting people. So I wanted the team to feel connected. I wanted them to feel recognized, I wanted them to feel good, happy about being at PacVue. I don't know if that answers that
Yeah,
question.
no, that's right
Still,
on, yeah.
we
love
still use
that.
it today. And it's honestly, if I want to like perk myself up, I go to that props channel and then everyone like puts their emojis on it, and
Yes.
They all
Yes.
like it's a way to like bring people
I
together.
love that. The
Yeah,
virtual world. I'm gonna steal
exactly.
it. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know you don't have much time left with you, so we have a few more questions, just some reflections as we close here. But as you think about, what's next, and what's the legacy that you want PacVue to leave in the industry?
Yeah. The industry is changing really fast right now. And so I want PacVue to, I want it to be known it's not just a retail media network, it's really a commerce platform. And so there's these three pillars as we're kind of moving into this new world of like discovery commerce where people are discovering products and have a different playbook on TikTok. And TikTok's on our platform. And to all the retail medias, we work with over 100 retail medias, this new agentic commerce world where it's
Mhm.
ChatGPT and people are going that's a whole new model that's just starting. And so really there's all these touch points that people are being able to touch, the brands are being able to find customers through TikTok, through retailers, through ChatGPT, and then these conversion points that's happening. And so really want PacVue to be this, single pane of glass across all these different models and all these different places that are helping brands plan their budgets, activate, optimize, and measure across this whole ecosystem. So,
That's the ambition.
yeah, that's what we hopefully.
I think you're well on your way. You're well on your way.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. So, I guess really the question here for the women listening to the podcast from you've co-founder, president, built this incredible organization from scratch. What do you want women to know about claiming their space in this industry?
I think that there's kind of two things. One is I do a lot of interviews also interviewing a lot of women, and there's
Mhm.
a trend, and it's really saying yes to things. It's raising your hand. It's not being sure that you want it, but also saying yes to it and going to do it. So I would say something that makes you feel uncomfortable. Do that. Do that thing. Going up on stage, going on TV, getting that job. People wind up staying in roles that maybe they're not happy about. And so really it's taking that leap to go say yes to something, go volunteer, go voluntold yourself to do something, go do that, project. That thing that sounds scary, that thing that makes is that after you say yes and you say, "Was that a good idea?" That is a good idea. That's the space, kind of that part where you're gonna grow as a person, as like an employee in your career. So that's what I would recommend to people. And
I
I
love
I
it.
have I have a passion project that I really want to tell you guys about that I invite
Please.
everyone listening. And this is kind of to what I'm doing next or like one of my passion projects that I'm really invested in. And we've touched on a little bit of it earlier, but I have two kids. They're both teenagers. One's 16 and one's 14. And kind of like what we were talking about before, like, will they have jobs when they graduate? I don't know. What's their world going to look like? So I'm actually working really closely with a retailer on this initiative, and I hope that they'll do it with me. But I'm creating an internship for high school students and college students. And it's all centered around kind of building the skills for the next generation because our schools are not really educating kids on AI. Like there's this
Mhm.
kind of weird, like, can they use it? Can they not use it? But they certainly aren't really teaching them how to prompt engineer and how to use the tools of the future for their jobs. So the ambition is to create an internship that helps kids understand how to use the tools of the future. And I've thought about using specifically creative tools because prompt engineering creative tools is kind of the easier path and it's very concrete. So the idea is to work with brands who would work with me to give their assets and say, let's teach kids how to prompt engineer and create ads. And then we will pick a winner of these ads that these kids create. And then they will participate in ad campaigns on Amazon and other places. And they'll learn about the KPIs and metrics that you can measure within this ecosystem. And then these kids can put things on their resume as they apply to college. They can get win awards within this internship, and that's also something they can put on their resume. But it's really about how can we teach kids real life skills, get them interested in maybe digital marketing and a career path that they want to do after college, because they're not really getting this specific skill set at the schools in a way
Correct.
that we can kind of within our community with brands, um, and the platforms that we're working on to help kind of teach the kids in a fun way. So that's one of the programs. So if you're a brand and you want to work with me and contribute your assets and pick high school student winners of, by the way, I think that a kid can come up with a really cool creative that resonates with them. So like, hey, create an
Absolutely.
ad that resonates kids age 14 to 18. I think these kids can come up with some really cool stuff.
I mean, Gen Z tapping into it right
I
from the
mean,
source.
yeah,
So you heard it here. Those brands that are interested, there's an opportunity to get involved, get in early. I
Yeah,
love it.
I
It's like
love this,
a passion project.
Melissa, because I have kids in school in primary school, and there is this, and I have friends who have kids in high school, and there's this sort of push me pull you kind of scenario with, oh, you can't use AI because that means it's plagiarism, or maybe you should use AI because that's what everybody's using. And it's this, and the kids are left confused. And either there's a total ban or there's a semi ban where they can't use all the functionality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they're leaving without knowing how to use the tools that everybody is using now outside of work, outside of school, in just in life in general. I
that's
absolutely love
right.
that. And I think also evangelizing that through, publications out there and creating that almost an event or an award kind of scenario, as you were talking about, that would be phenomenal.
Yep.
Make it
Well,
global. Make
my
it global,
14
Melissa.
girl,
Yeah.
we're gonna do a one this summer. My 14-year-old son and his friends are already in it. They're already enrolled. My son told me I had to pay him, but you know what?
Yeah.
He will be paid internship by me
Yeah.
to do it. But it's really something, and for anyone that has high school students, you have to create a nonprofit to get into college these days. So like really being able to have some skills that you can put on your resume
Mhm.
as you build your college portfolio resume, like it's wild. So hopefully, by the time your kids get to high school, the this internship program will be
Yeah.
amazing, and they can participate.
Fantastic.
I was gonna say
I'll
maybe we can
I'll start
open up
looking
the
now.
age range for our younger. It's never too early to start.
That's right.
Well, Melissa, we are reaching the end of our time with you, which is sad because we could talk to you about this all day. But we do want to finish with our pledge, where with every episode of She Commerce, we build and we're building a growing network of female leaders and advocates. So, Melissa Burdick, will you take the pledge to with us to pay it forward, amplify women's voices, and help shape the future of commerce?
100%. I'm there. I take the pledge.
All right. Well, you're in it. You're in our sisterhood. And thank you again for your time, your insights, your transparency. And just, we're in awe of everything you're doing, your courage, your strength, how you pay it forward, what you're building for the future, for our children's future, and everyone else's. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks you too. You guys are spreading the great word through your podcast, and so kudos to you because it's you already have a full time job, and this is on top.
Yes. All right. Well, this is Jackie and Christina then signing off. Bold brands, fierce women, one sisterhood.
Melissa, thank you.